Studying for hours on end without feeling completely burnt out sounds impossible, right? Well, I don't think this is true, and in this video today, I'll be showing you exactly how I can study for 3, 4, maybe 5 hours non-stop without feeling this burnout. On every day that I don't have school, I work in the mornings, and I do all the work that I need to do for that day between about 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. The only reason why I can do this properly is because of the advice that I'm going to give you in this video today. When I learn these ideas and apply them properly, that's when I never look back, because that helped me get all of my dream grades in my exam. Part 1 and part 2 are all about the things that you need to do before you start this long session of work. When I was scripting this video, the first thing I even thought of was planning, and that's all about part 2, which I'll explain later. But I realised that motivation to go and do your work is super important. There's two things that you could rely on. You could rely on being motivated to do work, or to be disciplined and do your work. Because you haven't done this before, there's no real habit or there's no real discipline that you can apply to go and do this. And so I believe it requires a little bit of motivation to begin with. I say a few things like, oh, I'm not going to move from my desk until I finish this work. Or I'm going to say, I need to focus on getting all the work done than how long I need to work for. Because if I can get all my work done in this single block of time, I will have the whole day remaining ahead of me to do whatever I want. And I don't need to do what I want now, so I can do my work now, I can do all of that stuff later. And the final thing I normally say is to do with this work or this studying being the hardest thing that I need to do today. And if I do put that first, I, again, will need to worry about that later. You can probably tell from my perspective that I'm very progress and very work orientated, that I'm motivated by making progress in things. Other people may be completely different. You need to find the motivation that does work for you to help you go and do work. You shouldn't completely rely on this, because you can work without being motivated. But it does really help, because I would love to be 5 to 10 more percent motivated more of the time. But there are times where I don't really feel motivated, but I do the work anyway. And the way that I ensure I get the work done is by part 2. And that's all about planning, as I mentioned earlier. So with part 2 and the planning, I've mentioned this a lot before, but it should be very clear and apparent why I do this. Planning your work gives you a lot of intention for the work that you're going to do within your work period. In your work period, you want your brain power, your thoughts and your creativity to be fully on that work, and not work that you need to do or you're going to do. So let's say you've got 3 tasks that you need to do. You do your maths homework, your physics homework and your chemistry homework. In your work period, you want to be focused on your physics. Then you'll be focused on your math, and then you focus on chemistry. You don't want to spend time in between these 2 work periods thinking about what you're going to do next. For example, let's say you are doing your physics homework, you complete that. Then in between these 2 pieces of homework, you spend a couple of minutes thinking about what you need to do. That takes your focus away from your work and onto things that you should have done beforehand. It conserves all of your energy solely for your work and nothing else. So the way that you plan your time is that you find all the tasks that you need to do, you find the order that you're going to do your tasks in, and then you think about how long those tasks will take. The reason why these times are important are more to do with part 3, so I'll explain that later on. But for now, we need to continue with this planning idea. So we've planned all the tasks we need to do. You've done all the things I say. You know what you're doing, put them in order, put some times there. But what are we missing? How can we be completely undistracted from this plan during our work session? So think about this practically. You've done your physics homework, and now you know that you're going to move on to math. But you know that maths homework you need to do is in your maths folder, which is in your bag. So what you need to do before then, it may sound so stupid and so common sense. You need to keep all the work and all the tasks that you need to do in one place, so you're minimizing your movement and you're minimizing your distraction of focus. And that leads me on to part 3, as well as using the times I mentioned earlier on. Part 3 is all about starting this work period and doing as much high quality work as possible. You're going to want to focus on the quality of your work as opposed to how much work you need to do. This is something you probably heard before, quality over quantity. But people don't often understand it in a practical sense. So notice how part 2 was all about reeling off tasks, task by task, keep going until you've completed them all. I can probably do that very, very quickly, but by doing the work to very low quality. For example, I can probably do most of my homework by looking at the solutions and copying them out, and that'll take me 10 to 15 minutes per piece of homework. That's quite easy, but that won't benefit me because that's very low quality and very shallow work. The way that you do avoid this is loosely using the time limits that I gave you earlier on. Notice how I said I'm going to spend maybe an hour on my maths homework and half an hour on physics. That allows me to do my work to a high quality. But this also allows me to spend enough time on work, so I'm not spending too much time either. It so happens that sometimes you may over or underestimate how long you think a task will take. So that's why I say you should loosely spend however many minutes you said on those tasks. Because at the end of the day, all that matters is the quality of work that you do, as opposed to how quickly or how slowly you do a task in the first place. You get credited for doing high quality work, whether that's revision in your final exams or just doing your homework really well, because that will benefit you in the future. And so that's what your main focus should be. So I know this video is all about working for a long period of time, undistracted, no breaks, whatever. But what really does matter is that because you're doing a lot of high quality work, it will take slightly longer than anticipated. And so as a result, you should continue working through that so you can get all that work done properly. But given the quality of work that you need to do, it does require brain power, and you may feel the need to take breaks from time to time. And that's perfectly fine. That's what part 4 of this video is about. It's knowing when to take productive breaks to help you get focused back on your work again. So you are quite relieved that I've introduced breaks into this framework, but the breaks that you're thinking about are very different to the breaks that I'm thinking about. You may be thinking about, oh, go and talk to your friends, or go on your phone, go on social media, or go to the gym or something like that. But no, those aren't necessary during your work session, because they begin to stimulate you, and so you're not motivated by your work again. Instead, your breaks should be ultimately and indirectly focused on the work that you need to do. And I call these boring breaks. So no phone, nothing, just nothing stimulating whatsoever. So from time to time, let's say I've done both my maths and physics homework, as I mentioned earlier, I will feel the need that I need a bit of a brain break. And so that I can do my chemistry homework to a very high quality, I will just stop doing work for a couple of minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. In those 5 to 10 minutes, I literally just do nothing. I spin around on my chair, I stare out my window, I go and get some water, that's about it. There's nothing stimulating about those breaks whatsoever. The reason why this works is because when you take a break and you eventually get bored within that 5 to 10 minutes, you're more motivated to go and sit down to go and do your work again. This means that your breaks are intentionally designed so that you can focus better and more on the work that you need to do later on. And yeah, this is pretty much my framework complete. The final bit is about just doing stuff which isn't work after your work. But if you're watching a video like this, you're probably in that mindset already, where you put your work first, then do all the things that you want to do later on. I've been using this for the past 3, maybe 4 years now, and I've seen the biggest results in my own life. Not only on this YouTube channel, which is still growing, I've got 12 9s by GCSEs and I'm predicted 4 stars in my A level. So yeah, if you did find this video useful, I've got a Discord down below in my description. But before then, I'll see you in the next video.